Welcome back to this brief movie. Today I will show you a 2011 comedy drama film named The Rum Diary. Did you know this is the set where Johnny Depp met his ex-wife, Amber Heard? Anyhow, spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. Paul Kemp is an author who has not been able to sell a book. He gets a job at a newspaper in San Juan, Puerto Rico. There, he meets Sala, who gets him acclimatized and tells him he thinks the newspaper will fold soon. Paul checks into a hotel, and while idling about on a boat in the sea, meets Chenault, who is skinny dipping while avoiding a Union Carbide party. Paul is immediately smitten with her. Paul and Sala immediately go on a drinking binge, which earns Paul the enmity of his editor, Lauterman. Paul also meets Moberg, a deadbeat reporter who cannot be fired. While waiting for an interview, Paul meets Sanderson, a freelance realtor, who offers him a job writing advertisements for his latest venture. Sanderson is engaged to Chenault, who pretends not to know Paul. Later, Paul moves in with Sala, who also rooms with Moberg. He begins to see the poverty of San Juan, but editor Lauterman does not want him to write about it, as it would be bad for tourism. Moberg returns with leftover filters from a rum plant. They contain high-proof alcohol. Moberg has been fired, and rants about killing Lauterman. Then Paul visits Sanderson and spies on him having sex with Chenault in the sea. He meets Zimberger and Segarra, who want him to help with a real estate scam. Later, Sala and Paul go to a restaurant and berate the owner for refusing them service. Paul senses that the owner wants to kill them, so Sala and he beat a hasty retreat, pursued by angry locals. The police arrive and break up the fight, then throw Sala and Paul in jail. Sanderson bails them out. The next day, Paul meets with Sanderson's crew, who tell him that the US military is relinquishing the lease on some prime real estate, and is asked to pick up Chenault from her house. Paul and Chenault share a romantic moment, but they resist the temptation. Zimberger takes Paul and Sala to see the island property, then they head to St. Thomas for Carnival. Paul finds Chenault, and they wind up on Sanderson's boat. Sanderson berates Paul for involving Sala in the deal. At night, they go to a club, and a drunk Chenault dances with local men to provoke Sanderson, with whom she has been fighting. The owners of the bar beat up Sanderson and throw Paul out of the club. Chenault is left behind at the bar, but where she ends up is unknown. The next day, Chenault is gone, and Sanderson tells Paul that their business arrangement is over. When Sala and Paul return home, Moberg informs them that Lauterman has left and that the paper will go out of business. He also sells them hallucinogens, which they take. Paul has an epiphany while being drunk, and resolves to write an exposé on Sanderson's shady deals. Lauterman returns, but will not publish Paul's story. Chenault shows up at Paul's place, after Sanderson disowns her. Out of spite, Sanderson withdraws his bail, meaning that Paul and Sala are now wanted by the police. Moberg also tells them that Lauterman has closed the paper. Paul decides to print a last issue, telling the truth about Lauterman and Sanderson, as well as the stories Lauterman declined. To make money to print the last edition, Paul, Sala, and Moberg place a big cockfighting bet. They visit Papa Nebo, Moberg's intersex witch doctor, to lay a blessing on Sala's prize cockerel. They win, but return to the office to find that the printing presses have been confiscated. Paul continues his quest, leaving Puerto Rico on a sailboat. The end credits explain that Paul makes it back to New York, marries Chenault, and becomes a successful journalist, having finally found his voice as a writer. Fun fact about this movie. The writer Bruce Robinson had been sober for 6.5 years, before he started writing the screenplay for The Rum Diary. The filmmaker found himself suffering from writer's block. He started drinking a bottle of wine a day until he finished the script, and then he quit drinking again. In April 2022, the ongoing legal dispute between Johnny Depp and Amber Heard finally went to trial. This is years after the former Pirates of the Caribbean actor and his The Rum Diary co-star first filed massive defamation suits against one another. But with this whole saga having been going on for a considerable amount of time at this point, it is admittedly fairly easy to get lost in it all and forget how we got here or how their love started entirely. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you could watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.